Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Here is a list of all the materials and colors that we are going to use for this painting. These are also given in the description below. Today's painting has four main parts: sky, ground, a tree, and stars. Please ignore my scribbles on the canvas. This is just to help myself visualize the painting as I progress with it. You can do the same, but it's not required at all. It's just a personal preference. Let's start with part 1, the sky. Add some ultramarine blue near the top edge of the canvas. Spread the paint using a palette knife. For the initial spread, I would recommend using palette knife instead of a brush, because the brush will retain a lot of the paint and may cause wastage. What I normally do is to spread the paint thin using the palette knife and then use the brush to achieve an even consistency. Drag down some of the paint to just below the center of the canvas, but not further beyond that. Now add some black near the top edge of the canvas on top of the blue color. But before blending the blue and black, spread the blue paint using a flat brush. Remember to use horizontal strokes. Start blending the black and the blue and gradually bring some black towards the center of the canvas. But remember to keep it above the center. Now add a generous amount of white below the blue paint. Take a clean brush with no paint on it and spread the white horizontally. Once you have an even spread of white paint near the bottom edge of the canvas, gradually bring some white upwards towards the top edge. When spreading white, always go in one direction, from the lighter area to the darker area. So from bottom to the top in this case. Otherwise, you will bring a lot of the darker paint into the lighter area. If you want to repeat this, make sure you clean the brush before doing so and go from the bottom to the top. Moving on to part 2, the ground. I'm using Viridian for the first layer of the ground. It is a blue and green pigment, more green than blue. If you don't have this color, use any other dark green color. Now spread this paint horizontally using a palette knife and take care to keep the top edge of the green parallel to the bottom edge of the canvas. We are going to create a textured effect for the ground using a simple technique. Press the palette knife flat and firmly on the paint and lift, and keep repeating this over the entire green section. This will create an uneven consistency, which is suitable for the ground part of this painting. Add some black on top of the green and spread it using the same press and lift technique. You will notice that the green color is showing through the black, and that is exactly the output that we are looking for. Now let's add some grass to the top of the ground. This is very easy. Take one of these nylon brushes and using gentle upward strokes, paint the grass line. Keep the strokes really short because we don't want the grass to be too tall. Now moving on to part 3, the tree. We need to paint a tree trunk, branches and then leaves. Firstly, take some burnt umber on a 1/4 inch flat brush and paint the trunk including the first 2 branches. Add some black to the burnt umber to make a darker shade. Apply this darker paint to the left side of the tree trunk and the first 2 branches. slightly blend the colors where the root of the tree meets the ground. Now take the same darker shade on a liner brush and paint a few branches. As a rule of thumb, keep the new branches thinner than the branch from which they originate. I like painting many branches, but you don't have to. You can paint just a few branches and move on to the next stage of this painting, because most of these little branches will be hidden anyway by the time we finish painting the leaves. But if you are painting branches, take care to keep them at around the center of the canvas and not too much towards the top edge. It's time to paint the leaves. Add a little amount of black to the previous mix of burnt umber and make an even darker mix. Take a small piece of household sponge, dip it into the paint mix and gently dab around the tree branches to paint the inner layer of leaves. Remember to dab gently, not firmly. Repeat the process until you have adequately covered all the branches. Once you're done, allow the paint to dry. You can use a household hairdryer to speed up the process. Now it's time for the second layer of leaves. Take some deep red on the palette. Spread it flat using a palette knife to allow for an even absorption of paint by the sponge. Remember not to use the same sponge as before. Use a clean one. Just like how we did previously with the dark paint, dip the sponge into the red and gently dab to create the second layer of leaves. I painted a third layer of leaves to complete the tree. You can also do the same, or if you're happy with how the tree looks now, you can stop here and move on to painting the stars. But remember to allow the paint to dry before applying the third layer. For the third layer, add some white to the deep red and mix together to create a lighter shade of red. Repeat the same process as before, and you can use the same piece of sponge that we used to paint the second layer of leaves. Now the fourth and final stage, the stars. This is quite simple. All you need to do is to take some white paint on a fine point round brush, paint a few big stars, and then paint a number of smaller stars around the big stars. Do this in the darker part of the night sky. And with that, the painting is complete. I really hope you liked it. Please let me know your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take care and stay safe.